manufacturer has to be that type of an approach. And it's not a competitive approach, it's a winning approach. So I think that's what, for me, is the most important thing at this auto show right now is that. Long answer, but I'm very passionate about that. That's how you change it. You change it with results, not rapid talk. There's a lot of people around us, competitive-wise, that talk about that too, which is incredibly interesting to me. That's what else?
I'll throw another one if no one else has a question.
Yeah, I think this gentleman had one as well. Would you like to, and then we'll come back right back to
Well, to follow along what you were just talking about, are you one that manages by wandering around and talking to your folks, or how do you go about and get that across?
I really do. And I go out, I'll tell you how I spend my time, and maybe you can get an indication of that, but on a weekly basis, typically, I will come in, and we will do, one day with my direct staff, which is looking at setting schedules, incentives, where the competition is, and where we predict on a 60-day basis, and we do that every week so that if we adjust, we adjust. And so I spend one day doing that with my direct staff, and then I typically will go one day with my colleagues, which is in the Red Center, with Gursky, Ammon, Mari Bar, the whole staff, and we'll go through operations of North America. We do it by region. We'll go through operations. I will give a report on operations in North America on what we're doing in terms of launch, we're doing in terms of manufacturing, and then where our sales are, and then what we need to do to adjust or help I need for something, one of the other staffs to do it. And I'll spend another day typically out at the tech center. And the tech center, the first part of the morning we'll be talking about individual product programs. We'll go through every product program we're doing, we'll look at the financials, we'll look at the design. And then I'll spend that afternoon typically in the design center looking at things around those programs.
That's fun.
And then on Fridays I usually go to the proving grounds after we do our pricing meeting in the morning for about 4 hours. I'll then hop in the car and go out to the proving grounds and drive cars for 4 to 6 hours off property, on property, whatever we got going. And we look at every program that's going to be introduced to North America at every stage of that program every Friday, if that makes sense. So if we're just looking at target setting for a brand new program that we haven't done yet, we'll go out and benchmark and ride and drive and pick the target. That's very early in the program, all the way through 99% calibration. And we'll buy off on the 99% cal, and then we go into production. So hopefully that gives you a span. So I don't spend a lot of time in my office.
So how do you get 30 hours in a day?
Huh? Yeah, you're right. I know. Yeah, yeah. And then I'll travel once in a while too. We'll go to see dealers, and I go to a plant. I'll see dealers. I try to be efficient. Once in a while, I'll work at a couple different departments in a dealership, so that I'm grounded with what our processes are doing in a dealer. I did it in Connecticut with Todd Ingersoll, and went through the whole process and looked at how complex is it for someone to sell one of our cars. I look at that, right? What does the incentive complexity look like? What is the finance? How are our systems? Our systems working? What does the service piece of it look like? And then we'll look at all of it. So we'll do that periodically as well. And then once a month I go to a dealer in Detroit. We each have one dealer that we go try and make the best dealer in the world, and then we sort of go out and try and name him. So that's what we do. And I'm not telling you who mine is, but he's a really good guy. So we go down there and try and clear local roadblocks. And I get a lot of insight from that because we were auditing GF6 transmission repair way too much, and so it puts the customer out of a car when they have a problem with it. So we can go in and clean this up instantly if I can see it in a dealership. So I spend a lot of time in the service piece of that typically.
Mark Roblazewski from Corvette Action Center. Have you driven the new Corvette, and what were your
Yes, I have.
what were your impressions?
Well, You know, when we drove the first mules of the car, that were built off of a C6, when we're configuring the chassis from a mule standpoint, we knew we had hit a home run even then, from a dynamic standpoint. And you know, we just went down 2 weeks ago. We hopped on a plane and went down to Bowling Green and drove the first 5 cars that came off in the plant-built cars. And you know, it was pouring rain, unfortunately. The next session will be in April somewhere in Europe. You can probably guess where that's going to be. So we're going to think about there and really put it through the calibration piece of it. But in the 5 modes, I got to drive all 5 modes in pouring rain, dry. You know, it was weird in Kentucky that day. But anyway, we did that, and it is really good. And we drove it against the dual clutch 911. We drove it against C6. We drove it against the 06. And we did all that, which was a great ride. And I can tell you that the car is pretty spectacular. So it's very, very good.
I guess we can get one more in, and you got to go, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, first I was going to ask if you beat Bob's last time around the Let's Ring.
Bob Lutz? Let me just tell you that when Bob was doing that, actually that track is actually pieces, you know, it's pieces of the best tracks that we go test. So I've got, in fairness to Bob, Bob didn't used to get the time on it that I did in my past jobs. So it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair.
My real question was just talking about the performance division, because I know performance is your passion.
It
you
is.
created the performance division, so now that you're head of a brand with increasing cafe standards, I mean, how do you reconcile your own passion for performance with emissions? And
Yeah, I mean, I really, it's a great question too, but I think of performance as unexpected delivery of driving experience in a car. And so, you know, a Volt in sport mode is really entertaining to drive. I find huge smiles on my face every time I drive that car. I think you'll find huge smiles on the ELR that we're putting out here too. The Spark BEV has, you know, I think 400 pounds of torque-ish, right? Is it right in there? Electric motor, instant, no shifts, highly fun to drive. There's lots of things like that, but I think, you know, the chassis and the integration of the chassis will create loyalty if done right. You can get people to go in and try your things for the first time based on design, package, price, all those things. You know, those are really important too. But at the end of the day, we will create legions of people who die to get into a Chevrolet, a Buick, a Cadillac, you know, GMC, because we have done things from an integration every day. Touch the car, drive the car. Car doesn't break, of course, but all those things create loyalty. And so I think of performance in that way. Yeah, I love fast car, I love all that stuff, you know, I love it. But at the end of the day, not everybody does. You know, very cognizant of that. But I want you to be really happy when you drive whatever you drive from us. And that starts with noise, vibration, steering, integration of that on any one platform, any one brand. That's what makes our company great, and the people who do that are the reason why that happens. It's not a machine, it's not I mean, the people who do that are artists, okay, and they have some of the highest respect in the company. The ATS would not have gotten Car of the Year had it not had, you know, a very unique blend of ride handling, noise and vibration, steering, braking, that was at least by the numbers as good or better than a 3 Series, but then very unique, very American, very Cadillac, something that we had not done before. It was benchmarked by many, but it is a copy of nothing. And so that part of it is, that is performance to me. You know, if we do that, we will succeed. So, yeah.
I just wanted to say ours is more thank you. Having Corvette seen the last few years up and down to where we are today, keeping the team together, Taj, Kurt, Harlan, Dave at the plant, keeping all that team in force and keeping them together has been a real plus. And I believe the new product you put out, everyone's responding positively to it.
Good.
And I thank you for keeping those guys together and allowing them to finish the job they started a few years back.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, this is hugely challenging. Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's going to be real cool with that. So thank you for saying that.